What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brian 636. Just kidding. Nowhere near as cool as Brian. I'm obviously not on a bike anywhere as cool as the 636. It's your boy Quigley. We're on the China 250. Today we are going to do something that Brian 636 does, though. We're going to go and do a Hoodeats episode. I'm going to take you guys through some neighborhoods in Newport News that I grew up in. These neighborhoods are going to be Heritage Trace, Warwick Townhomes, Monarch Crossing, and Aqueduct. And then we're going to finish off by going to Dodge's Chicken. Meanwhile, we're going to make a special stop, and we're also going to talk about the spice epidemic in a gas station out front of one of these neighborhoods that was known for selling spice. So yeah, let's go ahead and get on the road. Coming up on the first neighborhood. This neighborhood used to be called Heritage Trace. Let's see if they've rebranded it to River Breeze. There's definitely no rivers nearby this motherfucker. I used to stay in that top apartment right there. So let's go ahead and let's talk about this neighborhood real quick. So this is the neighborhood I lived in. And now you'll notice something about these neighborhoods. They are stacked right beside each other, side by side by side by side. The only thing that separates these neighborhoods are thin fences, which are often torn down or have holes cut in them. So when you're doing your mischievous stuff, you can get through the neighborhoods. And I just noticed these buildings over here are new. Now when I stayed out here, this was all woods. But I stayed right there in that apartment. When I lived here back between 2008, 2010, I want to say, my mom was managing these apartments, and immigrants would stay 5 to 8 people deep in single bedroom apartments. Now I understand if you're here legally, you got to do what you got to do, but a lot of these people weren't here legally, and they would get these 1-bedroom apartments, and there'd literally be about 5, 8 Hispanic or Haitian immigrants staying that deep in the apartments, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, before we leave this neighborhood, we're going to make one more stop, and it's on the opposite side of these buildings right here. And the reason we're going to do that is because that's where I experienced my first murder. Now, I didn't watch it go down, but the crime scene that was left was something that the whole neighborhood had to deal with for a while. So let's get over there and talk about that. So, as you can see, like I said, these neighborhoods are only separated by these thin fences, which are often torn down, crudely repaired. But we're going to take a walk through here real quick, and I'll explain why. So during a rainy night, a robbery went wrong, and a gentleman was shot here in this hallway. For the few days after that, there was blood splattered all across this wall here, all over the floor, all over this path, and right about between here or here, there's a giant puddle that the rain didn't wash down. Now, as a kid, being about 10, 13 years old, I didn't really understand this, but me and my friends would sit right there on that porch, play with our Beyblades, and I remember looking back and I remember the pool of blood that sat right here. And yeah, it's the first time I experienced that. And they didn't do anything to repair any of this. And as you can see, still to this day, they don't do much to repair it. It looks like there's still blood smeared on it. Now, the next neighborhood we're going to go to is the one right over here, which is Warwick Townhomes. It's another neighborhood I spent a lot of time in. Now, Warwick Townhomes next door is where my best friend stayed. So that's obviously where I stayed most of my time. That neighborhood was a little bit different than this. Actually, the next 3 neighborhoods I'm going to show you are quite different than this one. So this neighborhood here is primarily Hispanic. These next 3 neighborhoods I'm going to show you are primarily African American. That corner store right there is pretty iconic. Jenny's, I see it still has the same name as from when I lived back here. We're going to talk about that corner store after I go through this neighborhood here. Warwick Townhouses still has the same name. My best friend used to live in that yellow building right there. Once again, as you can see, these neighborhoods are only separated by a thin fence. That's it. Too easy to get through those motherfuckers. So let's go ahead and talk about this neighborhood real quick. Why does this neighborhood stick out the most to me? Because I spent the most time here. Which obviously, when you spend the most time here, people that don't like you know that you're out here. So I spent a lot of time out here and out Aqueduct, which is one of the other neighborhoods we're going to go to. And this is where I had a lot of my fist fights back in the day before people really started shooting each other and shit. And yeah, I mean, this is where it all really went down. Back here we didn't do much. Back up front is where we played football. Did the normal shit, we hung out, shot shit. And what's special about this neighborhood is back when I lived here, I remember everyone that I knew that lived in these apartments that I knew, they had so many brothers and sisters. I mean, literally everyone had 2, 3 brothers and sisters. And back then, people were really connected with each other. And, you know, back before social media was really huge, back before smartphones were huge and shit. And I just remember, you know, late middle school, early high school, man, we were all tight with each other. So if you messed with, you know, our friend's sister, say our boy Jarrell or something, you mess with his sister, we're not gonna let that slide. Someone's gonna be watching, someone's always gonna be protecting, and we always had each other's back. And the people that I went to school with that lived out here, you know, we always looked over each other. So we're gonna get to this next neighborhood, which is Monarch Crossing. We're gonna talk about that one before we go over to Aqueduct, and then we'll finish the day off with some Dodger's chicken. same as back there. Right here was where we used to all play football and shit. This is where everyone, they settled their beefs, everything right there. Now, before we get into this neighborhood, we're going to stop here at this gas station, which used to be called Red Barn, some gay shit like that. Alright, let's talk about this place real quick. So, do you guys remember the spice epidemic? I do. And if you don't, I'm going to just break it down real quick. Spice was a synthetic weed that the government kind of just let random gas stations and tobacco shops sell for no reason at all, for way too long. They knew it was bad for people. They knew it was bad for your health, for your mental health. I mean, this was back in the day when people were fucking smoking bath salts, you know? And so anyways, spice was a huge thing. And this gas station right here was known for selling spice. And it was rated for selling spice. And I remember back in the later years, as I started moving up through Warwick and farther down the road, man, I remember coming down here and seeing 14, 15-year-olds hanging outside this gas station, robbing people, harassing people, trying to get money so they can just walk right in, get a $5, $10 bag of spice, and then they'll do it all over again 15 minutes later, because if you remember, spice only lasted about 15 minutes. So, yeah, it was a bad thing, and I hold a grudge against this place for that, because it was real fucked up. But let's go ahead and let's get on into Monarch Crossing real quick. Monarch Crossing never rebranded themselves. Alright, so this neighborhood I know the least about, because I've spent the least time here. That I did spend here was actually lifeguarding here at this pool. And I was kicked pretty quick from that. Yeah, I worked for a company, I don't know if they're around anymore, and they contracted out to these neighborhoods, and I was a lifeguard for about a year. And I got along a little too well with the residents here. And let's just say the ladies really liked getting in the pool with me. So I had a douchebag manager who would do douchebag shit, like hide behind the fucking buildings and watch me to make sure I'm following every single rule, and very strict about it as well. So I only lasted about a month here, and they kicked me from this place. And all the beautiful females that I was teaching how to swim, I never got to see them anymore. And they actually moved me farther down to a worse neighborhood, another neighborhood that I'll be talking about another episode if I do another one of these. That neighborhood is a little bit crazier than this one. When I lived out in that neighborhood, someone actually got shot right in front of our apartment, and yeah. But yeah, I don't know much about this neighborhood, so we're gonna get on to Aqueduct. Alright. Now here's the thing about Aqueduct. Aqueduct is one way in, one way out. And that makes for a pretty sketchy neighborhood. Why? Because if your rivals back in this neighborhood, they only got one way in and one way out. So when I spent my time in this neighborhood, I was involved in a group. Back in the day, there was a lot of neighborhood rivalries between these few neighborhoods and the neighborhoods up the street. Now, I'm not going to say any of the neighborhoods, but they got pretty violent sometimes. My boys, we used to hang out right here. Now this is what's special about this neighborhood. This Boys and Girls Club right here. This means so much to this neighborhood, to have somewhere for kids to go. And even me and my friends, when we weren't causing trouble, this is where we would hang out. They would have video games, everything in there. People I hung around with when I was out here weren't the friendliest of people, and neither was I. So there's a cut through over there on the opposite side of those buildings. I'm not going to go show. There's a hole in the fence. This hole in the fence leads to the market that's on the other side. So you used to be able to catch people going to the market on the other side. And what we used to do, well, I can't really go into description, but it wasn't friendly things. But I want to remind you all that this is when I was a kid, a stupid kid, and I was just hanging around trying to impress my friends and doing what we had to do to make a few bucks and survive. And yeah, and these neighborhoods here are some of the wild ones. And get some Dodge's chicken and get on out of here and see what other trouble we can get into. Now, I ain't gonna go in there and film me ordering, because I feel like people don't like that shit when you film them at their work. So I'll holler at you guys when I get my food. Let's see what we got. Cherry Pepsi, 6-piece, spicy. Oh fuck, now we got a fizzy Pepsi. We got a 6-piece spicy. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, and some bread. Fuck yeah, 2 loaves of bread. Go ahead. They look alright. They're a little small, but the breading on these motherfuckers, man, the seasoning and breading they put on this shit is so good. So fucking good. And we'll smother this shit in some hot sauce, of course. Oh, well, boys, I forgot to mention why I like coming here to Dodge's Chicken. Well, as you can see, it's right off the main road. It got some good chicken, and it got some gasoline. So this is the spot that I typically hit when I'm out here attending car shows, car meets, cruises, whatever. And yeah, it's just a good little spot to stop, hard park your car, get some good shots, and keep it moving. And that's exactly what we're gonna do. So thank you guys for joining me today on this Hoodeats episode of Uptown Newport News. We got to see what used to be called Heritage Trace. We got to see Monarch Crossing. We got to see Warwick Townhomes. And we got to see Aqueduct. You guys got to see the neighborhoods that I grew up in and that I survived. And yeah. So next episode, maybe we'll do some more neighborhoods that I've lived in here in Newport News. But we'll see how many views this video gets, and we'll go off that. See you guys. So another thing I didn't touch on is the crime stats. Well, to be honest with you, Newport News isn't like Chicago or anything absurd like that. But it is known as bad news for a reason. And it is definitely a place where you can get caught up in some shit you don't want to get caught up in. And growing up out here taught me a lot of valuable lessons. Taught me awareness and how to keep my head on a swivel. But besides that, it's not too bad of a place.